To the U.S. now, where a family in a suburb outside of Chicago has been shattered by the loss of their son. When Dylan Buckner's parents woke up on January 7th, little did they know that it would be the last day they would see their promising 18-year-old star athlete and straight A student. By 3 p.m. that day, Dylan died by suicide. His parents say their son's death was due to the impact of the global pandemic. NBC reporter Elizabeth Chuck has been covering this story closely and joins me now. Thanks so much, Elizabeth, for joining us.
Thank you, Maggie. This is such an important topic, so I really appreciate you covering it.
It is absolutely important. Dylan's parents say he woke up happy on January 7th, went to see a psychiatrist, and then attended online classes. But by 3 p.m. that day, he was found at a local hotel dead. What happened?
So, to me, this is the most frustrating and mystifying aspect of this tragedy is we don't know what happened. We know that Dylan Buckner had been struggling with depression for a couple of years. We know that the depression got significantly worse in the months leading up to his death, which, as you pointed out, did correspond with the pandemic and the pandemic shutting down his school and his athletics, which were major parts of his life. But we don't know why on that particular day Dylan took his life. Dylan's parents, Chris and Karen Buckner, told me that if they had any idea that their son was going to do this, they never would have left his side that day. So as Karen Buckner, Dylan's mom, put it, it just seemed like a switch flipped at some point during the day. Now, we don't know why that switch flipped, but what we do know, generally speaking, is that suicides can be a result of an act of impulse, particularly in teenagers and adolescents whose brains are still developing and who just don't have the number of life experiences that adults do to show them that they can be resilient and they can get through hard moments or difficult emotions. So we're not sure what happened in this particular case. We do know that sometimes these can be acts of impulse, but I want to make clear that that doesn't necessarily mean that these can't be prevented. Just because these can sometimes be the result of a switch flipping doesn't mean that we can't do things to help people who are struggling with this. Here in the US, there's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, there's the crisis text line, there's so many other resources out there. And as long as people who have these feelings have these tools in their toolbox, we can prevent these kind of things from happening.
Elizabeth, we have less than a minute, but I want to ask you, there are a number of reports of parents who have lost their teenagers to death by suicide, and they're blaming the pandemic. What are you hearing? What are you sensing?
I am hearing anecdotal reports of parents saying that their child has died by suicide and that they are blaming the pandemic. That one thing that mental health experts emphasize is that suicide is multifactorial, meaning it never happens just because of one reason only. So we also do not have statistics yet for this past year in terms of suicides, whether they've gone up, whether they've stayed the same. So it's important to know that this is not inevitable, that there will be more suicides among any age group, including children and teenagers. But yes, there are parents who are saying, listen, my child was doing great in school, and as soon as everything started to get shut down, this child became a different person, and they were struggling a lot, you know, in the loneliness of their Zoom classes or wherever, with sports getting shut down.
Thank you so much for shining the light on this story, Elizabeth. Again, Elizabeth Chuck from NBC News. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maggie.